what's up you guys? Today I am bringing you a bit more of a chill video. We're just going to react to some Reddit anti-MLM horror stories. There is some crazy shit on there, so I'm not going to make this intro too long. I'm going to pop my Instagram up on the screen. Give me a follow over there if you want to connect or send me any of your MLM horror stories because I would love to compile some of those for a video coming up. Also, I'm sorry if you hear some banging. The people across the parking lot from us are building a shed right now or something like that. So if you hear any hammering, I apologize. But with all that being said, let's just get into it. So the first story that I saw, I haven't read any of the stories, so I don't know how crazy they're going to turn out, but I just picked ones that the title was a little bit wild. So this one is, I was lured into an MLM and lost a 15-year-old friendship because I left. So already right off the bat, I was like, oh my god, that's awful. But let's just read the story. I'll pop it up on the screen as well in case you're someone who likes to pause and read it for yourself. But let's just get into it. So it says, so I, 24 male, met my former best friend, 23 female, when we were in year 1 of primary school. So I'm guessing this person's in the UK or something like that. For the purposes of this post, we'll call her S. We had been best friends throughout primary school, high school, and even 4 years after high school. From my memory, it was about 15 years being friends. And over time, my mom, M, and her mom, SM, became best friends as well and have all become like one big extended family. I was even a big brother figure for S's little brother. Anyway, back in early 2018, I decided to make a diet and lifestyle change to better my health as I have medical illnesses. I told S and she told SM, who then decided to introduce me to a fitness program she was doing. I was skeptical, but I agreed to go to a meeting and see what it was like. This meeting was all about people in the program and their journey to a new life. There were photos and stories of how these people went from 150 kg to under 90 kg, all thanks to this program, and how people have cured their medical illnesses because of this program. So obviously, very dangerous claims to be making. I became intrigued, but I was still rather skeptical. I kept going to these meetings, and every time it was people just spilling the same old stuff with the same old results. Then we got deeper, and I realized this program was tied with Amway, and they use all their supplements and products from Amway. By this point, I felt like I was way too far down the rabbit hole to back out now, so I kept going. I was introduced to the business side and was taught all about downlines and how it all worked, and suddenly it was no longer just a fitness program. I told SM, so S's mom, that I just wanted to do the health stuff, which I had not yet started, by the way. She wanted to introduce me to it first and not worry about anything else like what S was doing, and she said it was fine, but to come along to business meetings and stuff just to learn because it couldn't hurt, right? Wrong. One thing led to another, and before I even started the program for myself, I was learning how to suck people in and how I could earn thousands every week just by introducing people to the program. Eventually we got M in on it, on the promise that it'd be cheaper if M and myself did it together. So this person's mother, his mom and him had to do it together. So finally we started the program for ourselves, and we were told that in order to start the program properly, we had to do what were called protein days to shock the body, which literally were days where we couldn't eat anything other than pure sources of protein. No carbs, no vegetables, only protein. Okay, I'm gonna pause right here. I'm obviously not a nutritionist, but that does not sound healthy to me. Like, your body usually needs all of the food groups to work best. From what I've heard anyways, I don't know, maybe I'm the crazy one here, but that does not sound healthy to me at all. This was especially hard for me since I don't eat meat or eggs and I'm allergic to dairy, so I was very limited on what I could eat. Yeah, that doesn't sound healthy at all. We were told that we would have to do this for the first 3 days and every other Monday for the remainder of the program. For the first 2 days, I was eating literally nothing but dairy-free, vegan cheese and meat-free ham slices. No bread because carbs are bad, just the cheese and the meat-free ham slices on their own with literally an entire handful of supplements. I was done after that. I told them on the 3rd day that I was out and I wasn't going to participate anymore, as even I knew that that couldn't be healthy. S and SM begged me to not leave, saying it would get better, but I refused to risk my health. After that, they branded me a bad influence on S's little brother, who was 8 at the time. They stopped talking to me, and SM even went as far as bad-mouthing me behind my back to M. Yes, she bad-mouthed me to my own mother. M stayed with them a little longer, so his mom stayed a little bit longer, and then left herself, realizing that it was doing more harm than good. And after an 18-odd year friendship, we haven't spoken to S, SM, or anyone in their family in over 2 years, and honestly, I don't miss them. So that's awful. Some of the comments are saying that like the same thing kind of happened to them as well, or like a similar thing anyways. But it's just disgusting. And the fact, again, that a company could make you lose a friendship that was strong for 18 years says tons about the company. I don't care what people say, or they want to say they're not your real friends if they don't support you. If you have had a relationship with a family for 18 or so years, that all of a sudden once they try to rope you into this company, the relationship starts falling apart, that's not your fault, and it's not the relationship's fault. That is the fault of a bad company. Because there's no way. Like, that would be like if I joined a job and then all of a sudden all of my relationships were failing, but before they had been fine. I would start to look at myself and the job and what it was making me do to figure out why that change is happening. And also the fact that they are not licensed at all from what it seems, and they're giving advice to someone who doesn't eat meat or eggs, or like really doesn't have a whole lot of sources for protein, but they're told not to eat vegetables or carbs on those days. That's so unhealthy. Like, that's just, it's so dangerous. And unfortunately, a lot of the MLM companies are like this, where they give advice that they just cannot back up at all. It's scary, it's dangerous, and it's not right. So someone else made a comment that's really interesting here. They said, I look at MLM shills like I look at my dogs. They beg for food and treats and act like good dogs because they know I'm the one that brings them those things. I don't expect them to rationalize why they're doing the things they do. They're dogs. If a human being acts the same way my dog does, I really don't consider it as a loss in my life never speaking to them again. Now, obviously, you would consider it a loss if you lost your dogs, but I completely get what they're saying. Like, there's no rationality to them basically, like, begging you to sign up and get involved with what they're doing. And they're basically completely lost to it, which is unfortunate, but it is the reality, unfortunately, of being in MLMs. The next story I'm going to read is called My Husband's Friend is Definitely Trying to Rope Us into an MLM. Again, I'll pop it up on here in case you like to pause and read it yourself. So my husband was contacted by one of his old friends from high school, and they started talking a bit. A few days later, his friend randomly called my husband since it was our anniversary and my husband didn't answer. My husband returned the call the next day, and apparently the conversation turned towards satisfaction, and this friend wanted to meet up and talk a bit more about a social commerce startup business. My husband, who's against MLMs, brought up over the phone it really sounded like an MLM or pyramid scheme. This, of course, upset the friend, who said that pyramid schemes are illegal and he wouldn't subject his family to that. Since my husband hasn't seen this guy in years, he agreed that the three of us could meet up, one part curiosity, one part catching up. That meeting was today, and the first half hour was just catching up. Then it turned into a conversation about work. The friend asked about my job, asked if we both had degrees that you both aren't using, etc. That's a pretty rude assumption to make, actually. But anyways, he started talking about how his brother introduced him to so-and-so, told him all about this opportunity that opened so many doors in his mind. He talked about how there's a project 1 where people make 40 to 60K, then move on to project 2, which is helping people complete project 1, how his mentor has completed project 1, and that there's another mentor who's a mechanical engineer who's quitting his job since he makes so much with this business. He also made a one-off comment about how his first son had a lot of digestion and nutrition problems, but their younger kids were perfectly healthy thanks to a supplement his mentor gave him. The friend pulled out the cash flow diagram showing the whole active versus ongoing income, then asked in the weirdest way, if I could get you to meet my mentor, what would an extra 40 to 60,000 change for you? He wanted us to participate in an invitation-only webinar tomorrow, but I had picked up a shift at my job, so I couldn't make the time. He insisted that we both had to be there for the webinar and picked another day that would work with our schedule. With that, he emphasized that he was putting his neck out to try to get these invites for us, so he expects us to turn down any additional shifts at our jobs that would prevent us from joining the Zoom call. He then gave us homework, which was to read the first 30 pages of Business of the 21st Century by Robert Kiyosaki. My bad. That's probably still wrong. I'm sorry, Robert. But I do want to add that my husband and I were both pretty sure going into the meetup there's going to be an MLM shill, but my husband really wanted to give his friend the benefit of the doubt. He was hopeful that maybe there was something legitimate going on and at least he'd get to see someone he hadn't seen in years. Plus, since this guy was avoiding giving any solid answers over the phone, we were curious about what MLM this guy would be a part of, since he never posts any typical Hun-style posts or really anything related to income on social media. We both did some research after the meeting and are positive this is an MLM, but we aren't sure which one. My guess, even before we met up, was Amway. Any other bets? Also, I know my husband doesn't want to lose his friend over this. Do you have any advice in that regard? Okay. So someone did like a red flag. I'll put it up on the screen because it's so funny. Mentor, red flags. Mentors retiring early, more red flags. Supplements, even bigger red flags. Some book by rich dad, poor dad guy, bigger red flags. Amway alert. The only way for your husband to have any hope of saving this friendship is to say, no, we're not interested, and then instruct his friend in very clear terms never to recruit him to Amway again. Without firm boundaries, the friend will ruin the relationship by himself, turning every conversation into an Amway pitch. No excuses, just no. Which, it is so sad, first of all, that people reach out to people they haven't spoken to in so long, and you kind of get this like, oh wow, you know, they want to catch up with me. That's so great. I feel so special. Let's reconnect. I definitely want to bring more friends in, especially I find in adult life, it's pretty hard to make friends. Like, unless you go out all the time or you're in like clubs or like extracurricular activities, I feel like aside from your coworkers, it is kind of hard to make friends or to keep friends. Like, everyone kind of grows apart in a way. So having someone reach out to you does feel really good, and you get excited about the possibility of rekindling an old friendship. And the fact that a lot of the time it does turn out to be an MLM is so upsetting, because otherwise it could be a really great friendship and a great way to connect with someone that you used to be close with. As well with this one, this story, at least they both already knew about MLM, so they kind of knew going into it that they weren't really going to be that interested in this opportunity. But I do think, again, it's really shady how he says that there's a first project and then a second project, and they use this language hoping that you don't understand. It's also really rude to say that you have the degrees you're not using, or you better not turn down, or you better turn down any extra shifts at your job because I had to pull strings to get you this Zoom call, which is just BS. Like, you know, anyone who's willing to give them the time of day to try to recruit them, they will do it. It's not that they're doing you a favor. You're doing them a favor by even being on that call, which is just so frustrating. And it really, really sucks. But this just goes to show how damaging MLMs can be to relationships. The fact that you even have to go out there and post saying, hey, we don't want to lose this friendship, but like, what the hell do we do? Because this is so wildly inappropriate. So here's the next story I'm going to read. This one's called Approached in the Locker Room. Now some things are falling into place. Which this one, I was like, the locker room. Like, that's kind of what made me click on this to begin with, because I was like, that is a very weird place to try to shill your MLM to someone, but I wanted to see what it was all about. I haven't read it yet, so I'm going to read it now. This one's a little bit of a smaller story. So this happened last year, pre-COVID, obviously. A girl who looked my age, late 20s, approached me in the locker room at the gym after making eye contact with me several times. At first I was a little weirded out, but she kept asking if I remembered her from a vague place because I looked familiar. Was it somewhere else I'd been? No. Then she started asking about my boyfriend. I had one at the time, but she didn't seem to really know anything about him. Then came what I assume was bait, looking back at it, but I took it. I gave her my number so we could get coffee. After she started telling me her parents were able to retire young, she was set and they were interested in investing other young people and couples getting started. It felt very strange overall. And I remember thinking we were virtually strangers and she wants to give us her parents' money or whatever she was trying to explain she was offering. She kept insisting via text that I set up a meeting with her and her parents and my boyfriend and I. When I kept telling her schedules wouldn't allow it and she and I could just get coffee like we talked about, she backed off a bit. After reading posts here, now I feel like she was definitely making stuff up to rope me into whatever scheme she was in and her parents, if that was even the case. Then again, maybe she was being vague because she was trying to get me on a black couch somewhere, or maybe I'm just an idiot and missed out on free money from a philanthropist I didn't recognize. Does it sound like any familiar MLMs? I'm thinking maybe Primerica or similar. Either way, I'm so glad I never followed through with meeting up. Even thinking about it gives me the weirdest vibes. I wish I still had the messages though after finding this subreddit. So yeah, that's obviously really weird. I definitely don't think she missed out on anything. My main thing with stuff like this too is always trust your gut. If something feels weird and off-putting about it, it is weird and off-putting. It's very strange to approach someone in a locker room, no less, someone that you don't know, who's saying, oh, give me your number, we can meet up and get coffee. My parents are going to retire soon and they want to invest in some young people to get started with their business. MLM, absolutely through and through. And this is the type of behavior that gives MLMs such bad names. I find a lot of people who are in MLMs love to say that they don't do these things, blah, 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 that it's all fake news and that none of this stuff is really happening. But these stories just go to show the absolute wild, crazy bullshit stuff that MLMs will try to do to get anyone they can roped in. And the reason why these negative opinions exist about MLMs is because stuff like this happens all the time to people. Cold messages every day to your Instagram, talking to you in person in a locker room, trying to get your number so that her parents can invest in you is so weird, so bizarre. I'm glad she never met up with her either, because it definitely sounds like an MLM or just something else that's even weirder probably. But either way, just completely not right and really, really uncomfortable. I would be super uncomfortable. A lot of people were saying it sounds like it was Amway. Someone else said this is Worldwide Dream Builders, a mentorship platform that uses Amway to build your own business and retire in your 20s. Run fast. Amway is the elite of the elite for MLMs. Their manipulative tactics and brainwashing techniques will cost you money, time, and your relationships. Take it from someone who learned this the hard way. I think I want to do a deep dive video into Amway because I've heard bits and pieces like this, but I've never really looked into why it is so crappy. Let me know down below if you would like a video dedicated to Amway, just because I feel like that one is the one that when I hear these crazy stories of people, it is usually Amway. So let me know if you want to hear about that more. Okay, this next one is a story that was shared on Reddit, which is how I saw it, but it's actually like an Apple News story from Slate, I guess. But the title, definitely you'll know why I clicked on it. So it says, my wife used our savings to bail her family out of a pyramid scheme. That's $30,000 gone. When I read that, even just the first part before I saw the amount when I clicked on the link, I was mind blown. It sounds really bad, so let's just get into it. I'm gonna read it, we're gonna talk about it, you know the drill, but let's just get into it. So, dear Prudence, I work full-time, but I took my second part-time job to save money so my wife and I can remodel our house. It's small and cramped, and our 3 kids share a single room, so we really need more space. My wife runs a side business out of our home, and my wife's parents support her sister financially because she refuses to work, and they often pressure my wife for money. We previously agreed that my wife could give them as much of her own income as she likes, but that the rest of our income is for our own needs. So basically that sounds like if she wanted to work and give her money that she worked for, that was fine, but he obviously didn't want the money that he worked for to be given away when they clearly needed it more. Which is totally fair. I think that's completely understandable. You can probably guess what happened next. My sister-in-law stole her parents' credit card to buy into a pyramid scheme and bought thousands of dollars worth of useless junk. They asked my wife to bail them out because they didn't want to press charges against her sister for identity theft, so she emptied out the account where we've been saving money to remodel our house. That's $30,000 gone. Her parents promise they'll pay us back, but I know we'll never see that money again. Furious doesn't even begin to describe how I feel. My wife says she's sorry, but that they're her parents. I quit my second job and told my wife she would have to figure out how to pay for the remodel. I also said that if she gives her parents another penny, I would leave. She cries and tells me I'm being unfair. For almost 2 years, I worked around the clock to save money for another room for our kids. I miss holidays and weekends. Housing prices are outrageous in our neighborhood, and I can't figure out how to move forward from here. I love my wife, but I don't think I can trust her again. So, yeah. This one's kind of like an indirect MLM story because it wasn't actually like him or his wife that was in the MLM. But it just goes to show, again, like how much they take advantage. So the sister, who has no money of her own, was roped in to an MLM to the point where she felt like she had to steal her parents' credit card and blow $30,000 on MLM junk. That is disgusting. And whoever the upline was too that saw that she was buying that much, shame on you for not stepping in. You know that people are in a vulnerable state when they're signing up for an MLM because they're broke and they want to change their life. And this is what the outcome of that turns into. So yeah, you might make a little bit of commission for someone signing up under you, but honestly, it is not worth the hurt and the debt and the devastation that it causes to relationships and families. Like, this sounds like it could be something that ruins a relationship or a marriage. And obviously, I'm not a marriage counselor. I don't know, but it's just like, it's completely not fair. And I think that the feelings in this are totally justified. It's absolutely insane. And yeah, the fact that that would even happen is just mind-blowing. Like, it's just crazy to think that that could happen, and that this is what MLMs cause behind the scenes that no one high up in the MLMs will look at or talk about at all. And if you support a company that causes stuff like this to happen, reconsider. That's all I can say is reconsider, because that is what you're supporting when you support and buy into MLMs. Whether you're buying the products, whether you're signing up, whether you're signing other people up, you are ultimately supporting the type of manipulated behaviors that causes stuff like this to happen. Because at the end of the day, if the sister hadn't been roped in to sell an MLM and buy stuff she couldn't afford, this probably wouldn't have happened. I mean, we can't say for sure because who knows, she could have got into something else and we really can't say, but MLM shouldn't even be part of that equation. Fruit fly, blah. I think that just tried to go in my nose. Anyways, the next one that I saved is called Doterra Shame, and this is just a big one, and it just really speaks to the horrible tactics that are involved in MLMs. I'm sorry if you can hear an airplane flying by. There's not much I can do about that. So the next story is called Doterra Shame, and it kind of talks about the awful tactics that are just involved in MLMs in general. So this one's titled Shame. When you feel it, if you feel it, where is it coming from? I recently got sucked into some emotional shopping, buying things promoted through multi-level marketing. At the beginning, I thought it was just a deal through a friend. And since it was through a friend, I didn't do the research I normally would if I were shopping on my own. Then when I joined the Facebook group, I got a weird feeling something was off. It took me a while to realize that I was buying things through an MLM. Then, after I realized that I had been swept up in the emotional purchasing, really poor purchase decisions, the cognitive dissonance and shame started bouncing around in my head. How embarrassing that I would get sucked in. I still need to fill the void inside me. If I buy more, I get a free gift. I'll buy more. But I totally get that. I can be guilty sometimes of buying things as well, just thinking that it might make me feel better, buying yourself a treat to cheer yourself up, stuff like that. It really sucks that it seems like it was through a friend, like she said, so someone she trusted who saw that position that she was in and took advantage of it instead of helping in a way that a friend should. So I'll just start by saying that, but let's keep going. Anyway, I finally quit and I wanted to defy the shame and share my experience in case it spares someone else the poor choice. What did I buy, you ask? Practically, literally snake oil. Actually, about 20 different varieties of essential oil of snake. No, just kidding. It's from plants, not snakes, but who actually knows? Since the shady MLM-based company controls the entire process of bottling the oil, sources, distilled, certifies, and distributes. They certify their own product and give it a certification that means absolutely nothing. That's really good to know. And their marketing associates, advocates, who have huge conflict of interest are emphatic about the purity of the product. The marketing associates are so emphatic about the purity of the product they are willing to recommend drinking it. They are so trusting of the company that earns money from their social network of friends and acquaintances that they are willing to dose their children, recommend dosing other people's infants, attest to miracle cures, and suggest ingesting these same company-certified essential oils to pregnant women and new mothers to improve milk production. So I just want to pause and touch on that before we keep going here. I agree. doTERRA is another one that, again, let me know down below if you would love to see a video about that. I am in a couple of different anti-MLM groups on Facebook where I don't know, like to chat with people, see lots of examples of things that are happening. And doTERRA is one that I notice all the time. Same with Young Living, actually. They have essential oils too, where these people cook with it. Like instead of using lime in their cooking or anything like that, they're using like oil of lime, oil of whatever. And it's all essential oils that they put into their cooking instead of using real food. They absolutely do suggest it as a means for like treating illnesses in kids or even in adults, which is so dangerous. Like I can't even describe it. The fact that she said they make up their own certification too, I think is really key, because that, I mean, if they can't get certified by someone else, what's the point? You know, I can say I'm a certified fitness coach. I certified myself, but that doesn't mean that I'm certified just because I decided that I am. So that's very telling, but it's one of the really dangerous ones because they do offer a lot of health and medical advice and suggest that using the product can change or fix your health. And that is terrifying that they even make those claims, but they absolutely do. It happens all the time. All right, I'll continue. So would it surprise you that the leadership of this snake plant oil company is primarily all men and the consumers and layers of sales associates are primarily all women? Would it surprise you that zero of their testing, if they actually do any, criteria and results are made public? Would it surprise you if you shopped around you would find that the discounted prices they offer are actually quite high? Not if you're familiar with MLM distributed products, I guess, but I wasn't, at least not firsthand. Women end up with drawers full of essential oils that would go bad if they were pure. So maybe they are going bad, who knows? Men who leave the company end up super duper rich. Lesson, trust your intuition more. I get a weird vibe. Maybe it was the cult-like devotion of the brand. Maybe it was the overly complicated discount and rewards gamification. Maybe it was the batshit crazy ideas floated by women on Facebook who really just needed to take their kids in for a CAT scan instead of rubbing frankincense on their little bruised foreheads. In my scattered, isolated state, I just neglected to be discerning or diligent. I didn't do any of my own research. It was when a friend had a baby and I thought of sending her a gift of essential oils that the illusion unraveled itself. I asked in the group, what should I get her? Oh boy. The recommendations include oils to rub on the infant's feet, things for teething, things she should put under the tongue 5 drops at a time, and also kind of a suggestion that would have made sense. Something that smells good and makes you feel good when you smell it. Copalbia, I don't know how to say that one, for milk production and basically everything. Lavender for soothing the baby, something I can't remember. It was Siberian fir and jasmine as a fragrance to ward off postpartum depression. So after getting this advice, I got a suggestion that I should not just buy these oils and accessories for $120. I should add $30, then become an advocate, sign up my friend with a fake account, purchase as her. She'd be the first person in the level under me. I would get a bonus for signing up for a new account. So helpful. Also dishonest. I have no problem with exploiting marketing ploys, but this felt off. So when I went down a rabbit hole and found out that I was actually in a rat hole of deceptive pricing, binge buying, and I was even starting to buy it to the harmful health advice, it's only proven to be harmful with other oils, and those oils aren't as pure as Doterra oils. Fuck off. I really like barfing. I really feel like barfing. I really like barfing. What's more, before sending all my relatively new Doterra oils in for a partial refund, I ordered some organic oils to diffuse. And guess what? They smell way better, and they were 1/5 of the Doterra wholesale price in a smaller bottle, so maybe only 1/3 of the price, but you get the point. Doterra is an overpriced, dishonest, icky source of essential oils. Do not trust Doterra. Thank you. I want to thank this person for saying all that because it's absolutely all so true. And it sucks that they feel ashamed. I can completely understand feeling like that too. I actually feel really ashamed as well that I was in Beachbody just because a lot of my friends said it was a scam. And because I didn't know about what an MLM was, I signed up kind of blindly. And I did feel shame for it for a little bit. I kind of just never talked about it again and then stopped doing it and never brought it up, never told them they were right, but never said they were wrong either, if that makes sense. And that's why. And like, I think it's really sad that the fact that buying a product or signing up to sell a product from a company is enough to make you feel that shame speaks volumes about the company. Not the person selling it, but the company as a whole. And I absolutely agree. Like, it's not necessarily the fault of the company that people are making all these claims, but they really do need to shut it down if they see that. The company can and should be held liable if people are making false health claims while selling their product that leads to something happening to someone else. God forbid, but honestly, you're not supposed to ingest essential oils. They can be really toxic when ingested. And the fact that they're certifying their own products and saying they're better than other products and then selling them for a markup of like 5 times what you can buy anywhere else is ridiculous. I would definitely love to I'll do a deep dive into Doterra. Let me know if you want to see that, because obviously if no one's interested, I won't. But it's really, really crazy. And also like the fact that when this person asked, what should I get my pregnant friend, they were suggesting oils to put on the baby, which can burn the skin, under the baby's tongue, oils for her to help prevent postpartum depression, which you cannot prevent depression with an oil. If that was the case, no one would have depression, but you cannot, and no doctor would ever back up any of this advice. Someone else commented on this, which I've seen this happen a lot too, but they said, when I was a new mom, I posted a question about nipple sensitivity in a mom group. Someone suggested I use tea tree essential oil on my nipples to heal them. I thought, great idea. I have some of that I've used for my hair. Luckily, someone posted right under that under no circumstance should I do this because it is toxic. I'm grateful for that person. I was sleep deprived and confused, and I'm not totally sure I would have done this proper research that I normally do before taking this person's advice. Thank you for sharing your story. It is only a good thing when people speak up. 100% agree. More people that share this type of information, the more people that see how absolutely bullshit crazy these companies are. Bullshit advice, bullshit product, bullshit prices, bullshit scheme. Really, that's all it is. I usually don't really curse in my videos or say anything like that, but it absolutely is crazy. And I wish that I could tell this person, you don't need to feel ashamed. You trusted your friend, which is something you should be able to do. And the fact that you had a friend that would do this it sucks, and it happens. Unfortunately, with MLMs, it happens a lot. But don't feel ashamed of yourself because you trusted a friend. Here's the next story and probably the last one that I'll share for this video. Comment down below if you like this type of video because I can definitely make a part 2 of this if anyone is interested. The title of it kind of broke my heart. I suffer with anxiety. I'll read you the title. I worked for this MLM for 2 years and I have severe anxiety problems after coming out of it. Now this one is going to be a doozy. It's a pretty long story, but we will get into that in a second. But yeah, this really broke my heart. I suffer with really bad anxiety sometimes. I have panic attacks and I know how much it sucks. So hearing that an experience could put someone into feeling like that is heartbreaking. I wouldn't wish the feeling on anyone. And so we're gonna get into it. I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about with this one as well, you guys, but let's just get into it. So I have a very long MLM story that will likely take me too much time to post all at once. My story fits all too well with many others, but it also holds some differences from many of the anti-MLM stories I've heard. For privacy reasons, I won't name the MLM or people involved, for now at least, worried about people coming after me kind of, lol. But I'll just refer to it as A. It's one that starts with an A, but I don't really hear many people talking about it strangely. So into the story. I was 20 and I had just moved into a new city on the West Coast. At this time, I was looking for work opportunities in entertainment as that was my desired career field. To add in advance, I already had experience doing a different MLM prior to my move, Amway, but never went into meetings and didn't put much effort into it. Did it from 16 to 18 or 19 with my family. I'm mentioning that to say I was already familiar with MLM, but at the time I wasn't against it at all. Okay, so yeah, I was going to actually guess that it was Amway. Clearly it's not because they mentioned that they were already in that one, but obviously it's not that one. So 1 year into living in my new city, I had finally gotten in contact with the CEO of a company I'd been interested in working with for about 2 years at that point. I was super excited to be in contact with this guy. Unlike many MLMers who lie about having a good life, this guy had it. He ran an entertainment company, had celebrity friends, was a former model himself. Still young, handsome, and charismatic. Basically an ideal MLM boss who could easily make you believe that his wealth and lifestyle come from the MLM. We communicated over Facebook and phone call for a while about me working with his entertainment company and his side business, cue introduction to the MLM. Now, as I said, I was already familiar with the business model, so he didn't really have to fool me into joining because I was aware of what it was. He did, however, lie to many future recruits, including my friends, to get them to join. Shortly after getting into contact with him, he moved to the city I was living in, and we finally met in person. So I just want to pause right there for a sec to say that a really key thing that this person said was that this boss, this MLM man, he already had a successful entertainment company and celebrity friends, and it sounds like he was set up for a very successful life already. And a lot of the times people in MLMs they are already set up with either their own success or a spouse's success that they then pitch as the success from their MLM. So I know Emily Leah has touched on that a lot. There's a lot of them that have like rich husbands and they're, you know, posing on the beach or living at their beach house saying that they got it all because of their MLM, which is really not fair because it completely discredits your spouse's hard work to get you guys the life that you live. But this sounds kind of like that. I mean, it is his own success from his other company, but to pretend that all of his success, wealth, etc. is from the MLM is really unfair when he has a very successful company and celebrity friends that can definitely like endorse his entertainment company as well. So that is probably where a majority of his wealth actually came from. And this person said they were familiar with MLM, so they knew already that the side company was an MLM. But for someone who doesn't know that, it would be extremely enticing and convincing. So yeah, we'll keep going. I ended up spending multiple days a week with this guy every week. Not long into him being in my city, we ended up going to weekly meetings for our MLM on Saturdays and I think Tuesdays, plus our many almost daily coffee shop meetings and constant team calls or DMs over Facebook with other members of the MLM. I was in college at the time and it became the center of my life along with working events for his entertainment company. Nothing else mattered because he told me we would succeed and that someday all of us on the ever-growing team would all be rich together. Where this MLM differed, at least in our team, from many others was the entertainment aspect. Being able to entice people in with promises of being backstage and meeting their favorite artists if they did well in the MLM. That and the team of attractive men my upline CEO guy had formed to lure in women. He'd have us telling fangirls that if they joined, they got to work backstage, and if they did well, he'd take them to meet or even have dinner with certain celebrities. Now, obviously that he could probably pitch because he had some proof to it, because he had a successful entertainment business and celebrity friends. So he could have a picture posing with them, and it would seem very realistic if you thought that was because of his MLM, that you could get into a similar position, even though those two things are completely separate. So a lot of people joined, even people who gave no fucks about MLM and probably thought it was a scam. He got so many people in with the celebrity promises. Funnily enough, he never did follow through on most of his promises to people, which makes sense because despite like having celebrity friends, it doesn't mean they're just at your disposal. They live incredibly busy lives. So it's crazy when I think back on all of it now. It honestly makes me sick to my stomach, but at the time, me and the others on the team thought that he was practically a god. We'd do anything for him without question. I traveled all over the country with this man for our conventions and concert tour work. It really felt like we were living life in the fast lane. Maybe he was, but no one else was. He told us he built his entertainment company with funds from his MLM business. Lies. So we were all so eager to do what he said. I mean, this man put on multi-million-dollar tours, wore nothing but designer clothes, and said he was able to get that to that level using his MLM, and he was only like 34. So why wouldn't we believe him? And I'm going to pause there again because the story is so long and just kind of touch on what they're saying here. So yeah, the part where this person said that their whole team basically thought he was like a god, honestly, that is not far off from the truth with a lot of MLMs. A lot of times they're almost very culty in their behaviors. And now, of course, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to get in trouble or anything. This is just completely my own opinion, and I'm not making any allegations. But a lot of the time when you're researching MLMs, you will see the comparison drawn between cults and MLMs because you have to blindly follow. You have to do everything in your power. You have to be on constantly messaging people, recruiting people, DMing people. The focus is about getting people to join, which is, again, very similar with a cult-like practice where you want people to join in and get roped in and stuck in the MLM. You want them to stay there. You're constantly selling them the dream to get them to stay in the MLM. You're constantly reminding them how much worse their life was before, which is also very common in cults. I watch a lot of documentaries, so I'm very familiar with cults because I find them super interesting. Some of my favorite movies are cult documentaries. It's a very common practice. And then as well, you have to live and breathe the company and the product, nothing else. So unlike most influencers online who get to talk about a huge range of products and whatever they're liking that month they can talk about, you're expected to just talk about the MLM product, never anything else, or never any products that might compete. So if you are in Beachbody and you're using their Shakeology and you like a different protein powder from Costco, you better not post it or your upline is going to be messaging you asking what the hell you're doing, posting about something else that you like, even though they pitch it to you that you can be an influencer. So I do find it very culty, and the fact that this person said they thought of their upline almost like a god is so true because you think, wow, look what they're doing. They're so special. I want to be like them. When realistically, he's not even like him because that success that he had didn't come from the MLM. And as well that they said, I felt like we were living life in the fast lane. Maybe he was, but no one else was. Again, that's very key because he was doing well, but no one else was. They're all just hoping and hanging on to this hope that they can be where he is at one point, but realistically they can't because he didn't get that success from the MLM. All the nights where I had no food and barely a place to live should have been enough to have been a wake-up call, or how I flunked out of my college due to extreme stress I was under, or so many other factors, but I kept pushing. That's a sin. He told me I had to go through these struggles and that it would be okay in a couple of years because I'd be like him. I thought he had my best interests at heart, so I kept fighting through all the pain and tears. Things got really dark at one point, and I went into a downward spiral along with several other members of my team. Some of us are still friends, and we struggle to really talk about what happened once things got dark because it triggers an extreme anxiety in all of us. Even with what I typed so far, I feel a lump in my throat. I feel the possibility of an anxiety attack coming on, and I need to take a break so I can get my thoughts in order enough to write a more coherent and organized update. Sorry, this intro is kind of rambling on. The update will include prostitution, drug use, almost dying, and more wonderful things that myself and others experience while trying to make it in the MLM. It kind of comes to the dark sides of the entertainment industry and the dark sides of MLMs into one horror-inducing package. So it seems like the update from this person was unfortunately like taken down, or they just never posted it, which is completely their decision if not. But I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like the update is there. I can't find it anyways. But what I will say is that basically it sounds like this person who they all trusted roped them into things like drug use, prostitution, almost dying, which that could be really anyway, but pretty crazy no matter what. and other things like that, which definitely would explain like the anxiety part that came along with it. And as well, they said at the end, oh, and as a note, if there's anyone who reads this that might have a guess at what I'm talking about, you can DM me, but don't say names in the post. I'm stating this as a disclaimer because my upline is kind of a well-known person, and he had people under him all over the US and in other countries. Our team was huge and many influential people. So this story is just like completely crazy. Again, it just goes to show the extremely predatory tactics that MLMs use to get people to trust the upline, to get them to stay in it despite all the bad stuff that might be coming your way because of it, whether it's just losing money or whether it's a lot deeper than that, like in this case where, you know, it turned out that this person was not doing well in college because they were focusing all their time to the MLM and had so much stress on them. Obviously, they got roped into some pretty bad stuff because of this upline that they all trusted. So it really just goes to show that although the stories aren't always this intense, it doesn't mean that it's not still happening. It doesn't mean that it's not still terrible, and it's definitely important to put stories like this out there just because people need to fully understand that the tactics that are used are to build your trust so it can be used against you. It's not building trust because they want a good relationship with you. Your upline doesn't care about you at the end of the day most of the time, and it is really, really too bad. And even if you think they're your friend, a lot of the time they kind of abandon you if you leave the MLM, which again is very cult-like behavior. So it's always something to look out for. And that's the last story I'm going to read in this one. Comment down below letting me know if you would like to see another video like this or what you thought of these stories that I shared as well. I would love to take a deep dive into some more stories just because I think it's really interesting and it's good to get the word out there from other people who are in MLMs. Please subscribe if you like these type of videos. I would love to have you here, and I really appreciate all of the support on my videos. And I'm going to pop my Instagram up on the screen here. Feel free, again, to go over there and follow me, connect with me over there, or send me your own stories for an upcoming video. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and see you in the next one. Bye.